Botas. I am Business Development Director for Europe at Codes. And essentially, I've spent most of my career working with pharma companies, either on development or on the transition from development into robust long-term commercial manufacturing processes, particularly for complex small molecules. At Codes, my main responsibility is, together with Mark and our commercial team, to focus on helping our partners and clients to make the best decisions and the best selection from our array of capabilities in order to develop their processes into the, let's say, timeline and cost standards that they are seeking out.
Thanks. I'm Mark MacDonald. I'm the Technical Sales Director for Codis. I'm a chemical engineer by background, been in the pharmaceutical industry over 20 years in a mix of small pharma, CDMOs, and some large pharma organizations as well. I joined the site in the UK for Codis in 2012, so I've been on site for a while now. Done a number of different roles in sort of engineering, operations, safety, and more recently on the commercial side. So looking at supporting, onboarding our clients, and building sort of long-term relationships. In my current role, the key area where I focus on in technical sales is really initial introductions with clients to understand the concepts and the challenges, and also trying to link that with the operational side so that we can ultimately provide the best solutions to address clients' problems and provide long-term sustainable partnerships.
So what we are seeing today is that more and more molecules are coming to market, which are either poorly soluble, highly potent, or actually structurally complex. So in this sense, spray drying is becoming more of a pivotal technology because, I mean, as you know, spray drying can definitely help us in order to tailor and fine-tune material characteristics. We're talking about aspects like solubility and or bioavailability. We are talking about stability of the materials as well in the long term, and also manufacturability, which are very helpful downstream when we are looking into develop a formulation or into manufacturing final dosage forms. So ultimately, what we see is that spray drying is becoming more and more of a new product enabling technology that will allow us to find better products and also to improve existing products in the market for the sake of the patients.
So spray drying, particularly with organic spray drying, is a very good way to do that. And one of the advantages of spray drying as well is it can include sort of other enabling technology capabilities like particle engineering with that. So you get a little bit of a improved option within the one technology. The other thing we tend to see with spray drying as well is it's quite a proven technology in the industry. So when you are looking at bringing a new compound through, although there are quite a selection of enabling technologies available, spray drying is one that really stands out as being available at the small scale to develop and prove the concept of the molecule, but also give clients confidence that that compound could then be scaled up and made commercial for the long term, still utilizing the spray drying technology.
Sponsors are realizing that most of the late stage risks that they are finding are actually created very early. So by engaging with CDMOs such as Codes sooner, they have additional support in the design of their processes in order to make them scalable, robust, and commercially realistic from the start. I mean, this is a key aspect because we are seeing more and more a focus shift from what was previously the short-term development speed requirements that we had into a mix of that with the necessity for long-term manufacturing reliability. And I mean, companies like Codes, through their extensive expertise within the realm of spray drying and particle engineering, provide definitely that type of input to our partners in order to facilitate making the right decisions as early as possible, and as well to avoid finding challenges and additional surprises in the downstream process development, which, as you know, have a significant impact potentially on timelines and can also be quite costly as well for our partner.
Codis has a broad experience in being able to scale up and develop compounds from R&D scale up to commercial. So this is where we see that early engagement can be extremely valuable in being able to, I would say, give a different view to clients early on in the compound life cycle. We can bring some of those thought processes into the discussion a little bit earlier, just so that we're looking at potentially optimizing products for longer term use, for commercial viability, for operational efficiency, perhaps earlier than we would otherwise look at. And this gives clients then a really robust platform to know that the compound has a route forwards, and again to support further investment discussions if that's needed to continue to progress the compound through the later stages.
Scaling up the process is where we will find a lot of challenges, and mostly these will show up as we increase the scale. So Codis develops the processes with an industrial representative mindset, which makes it already, let's say, setting the foundation to perform exactly that scale up. We do this again by leveraging our extensive experience in spray drying and also our process analytics data, which enables us to estimate and predict what will be the key process parameters that we'll need to have in the process in order to achieve the desired quality attributes for the final material, which are in alignment with the client's goals. And by doing so, we will definitely have a reduction on the timelines and a reduction on the necessary costs to achieve that process scale up and to achieve whatever the client objectives will be for a certain material and for a certain project.
Yeah, so I think the industrial scale readiness part is really a key and a cornerstone of what Codis is able to offer to the industry. There are multiple options out there at a smaller scale for spray drying, and many people, even our clients, might have spray dryers themselves at a smaller scale. The challenge then comes, how do you really build that facility and capability into a commercially viable operation? And I think that there are a couple of hurdles to that. One is the physical investment. So spray drying equipment is quite advanced and technology leading, but also in terms of the operational experience, the Codis on site here in the UK particularly have been operating spray drying for over 20 years. And similarly at our US facility, we've been running spray drying for a long time. So there's a huge amount of operational knowledge in the company. And that, again, gives us a significant advantage in being able to actually operate the equipment at an industrial scale and bring those compounds in and ultimately to market.
So keeping clinical, launch, and commercial supply manufacturing under one roof will avoid, in my opinion, a lot of loss of process knowledge. So essentially, pharma companies reduce any risks associated with tech transfer, which are particularly significant when you are transferring between facilities rather than just scaling up and transferring between scales within the same facility and keeping that same streamline of process development and process strategy within. This helps pharma companies as well to protect their overall process control and keep a good technical track of all the actions and activities that are currently ongoing to make sure that every action that is being taken is following and trying to meet what are their end goals and their end objectives for the product and the process. And of course, keeping this within the same roof is obviously very important as well to maintain product manufacturing consistency throughout the life cycle, which is essential for product performance and ultimately for client compliance and to achieve what is the therapeutic goals as well of the product. That continuity that companies like Codis can provide to its partners will save them time, costs, and also very important to notice, regulatory efforts.
I think one of the things we've also looked to develop internally is some quite sophisticated modeling processes. So we're able to really understand how the process works on the smaller units and how that will scale to the larger units that we have on site. So again, really a key factor to try and minimize risk, minimize material usage, and cut timelines on development programs as well, because that, again, that's a key factor in terms of the overall compound success, is that speed to market and speed to move through the phases, whilst really still ensuring that we're following the regulatory steps and bringing things to market in the correct way.
So I would say that one of the unique aspects that Codis can offer their partners is its operational readiness and flexibility to meet client needs and client timelines. Obviously, that comes as well associated with a very significant expertise in the process, which helps us to be lean and also to be very efficient in doing this process, which also is incremental to our capacity and our flexibility as well to meet those targets. We, are pleased to say that we integrate seamlessly development and manufacturing thinking from a very early stage, which means that it is a leverage to speed up the development processes and the scale-ups without the expense on the side of robustness and compliance as well.
The other thing I would say in terms of the kind of less tangible qualities is really the experience side. So we've been manufacturing commercial products through spray drying within Codis for over 20 years. On the UK side where I'm based in particular, we've been manufacturing thousands of tons of API for many years now. And we've been able to embed a lot of other skills and capabilities within those processes. So particularly things like recycling, things like solvent reduction, so real tangible, sustainable improvements to the process as well. And we've been able to have a long demonstrated culture of kind of operational excellence. So really looking to improve processes though that we already have. We've got demonstrated improvements in yield over years on that process as well. So these are some of the other factors that I think Codis can bring to bear to not just fully utilize the assets that are available, but with the people that we have on site and the experience within the organization, really continue to improve and bring value to compounds as they continue into the commercial space.
Generally, in spray drying, consistency of the process comes from a deep understanding of the process parameters and also of the materials that you are running through your process. So it's not just about running the hardware, right? Running the equipment. So understanding clearly how variations within the critical process parameters will impact on the material's critical quality attributes allow us to demonstrate a strong control over the process. That is one of the key benchmarks that Codis offers to its clients and partners, which is that process understanding and deep knowledge of how the parameters within the spray drying process and other particle engineering technologies will affect the downstream outcomes of the materials that we are outputting. By demonstrating this consistency and also by demonstrating this process control, we essentially are satisfying what are typically the regulatory requirements and what the regulators want to see around this type of processes, which is consistency, control, and security of that supply stream, which are, as I was mentioning before, the key benchmarks of what we currently do.
I would say in any scale of spray drying, the deep understanding to meet regulatory requirements is critical. But with CODIS experience in manufacturing at large scale as well, we have some, I would say, specific experience in that field. We've been, large scale spray drying, particularly on the UK side, for over 20 years, manufacturing thousands of tons of API. And over that time period have built up a huge understanding of the process and how it works, and that knowledge. So that's, instrumentation and assessment of the process from a physical standpoint whilst it's running, but also, I would say, additional investigation of the process as it's gone through registration and launch and commercial running as well. So we've been able to take, additional samples, test different parts of the process, really truly understand, almost to a point, how a particle can flow through the plant and through the system. So we can support and guide in a lot of those discussions. But also for new compounds coming through, I think it gives us, a lot of background in terms of how to move through some of those steps efficiently and compliantly with other compounds. And again, it's knowledge we can leverage for our future clients as well to support commercialization.
So I don't think we could talk enough about how early process decisions actually impact the cost of goods and also the process resilience in years to come. So we have come actually evolving from a stage where what looked very convenient at early development is starting to come through as a possibility to create process inefficiencies and process fragilities as well when we reach certain scales. So ultimately, as we were talking earlier, the key point there is to develop what are industrially representative processes that are clearly setting up the foundation for that scale up. Of course, that, as we have been talking, is needlessly supported by a significant amount of expertise and data that backs up our capacity to precisely understand the processes and understand how impactful will be the scale-up process in that certain product to achieve, again, what are the end goals for that specific product. So we are seeing definitely a shift in the mindset where those convenient early stage decisions are being more and more balanced in order to make sure that we don't compromise the future efficiency and consistency of the processes, and as well to minimize, or as much as possible to avoid, any challenges and surprises downstream, which, I mean, as you grow and you scale up the process, become every time more and more expensive to correct and to bring back on track. So that's precisely where finding the right CDMO with the right capabilities like CODIS can offer is essential for a pharma company to secure not only the initial stages of development, but most importantly as well, to secure the process scale up and to secure the consistency and the I mean, the word is actually the security of both the clinical and also the commercial supplies moving into launch, and of course as well post-launch as well.
So with our long-term experience of commercial manufacturing and conversations with regulators and understanding what some of those requirements are to bring compounds to the market, we can really help clients navigate moving through the early stages with a compound that is effective and workable and a process that's robust, but then with an eye on optimizing things further down the lines, again, so that there can be selections then around kind of when a client would need to invest in a compound to improve versus moving to the next stage. So we can have some really good discussions around the right balance in that field, and make sure that we're open to either optimizing early, I would say, to get commercially launched with the best product available, or you can take other routes to try to get the product to market, but crucially in that sense, with an eye on cost of goods improvements and optimizations that you will be able to bring in maybe with a second generation compound.
The reality is that when development reflects that industrial reality, the tech transfers and the scale up become sort of an evolutionary process rather than a disruptive one. So what we want to do mostly is precisely to go on that evolutionary route where you can see the projects naturally evolving from smaller scale into larger scale, and being able to project precisely the transfer from one unit to the other, regardless of the difference in terms of scale. When you have this evolutionary mindset and you collate between the development work already with a commercially thinking mindset as well, you make this more seamless and make this much easier for us and for the partner. And ultimately, by doing this, we will, reduce as much as possible any late stage risks and any potential surprises that, as we know, we can always tackle any challenges that come up. And of course, we are always prepared to tackle them and to solve them. But these come at a price, which is not only financial, but it's also in terms of time. And as we know, particularly for new or differentiating products, timing is everything so that you can reach the market in the best way possible and have the best impact as well. And of course, one of our key objectives is to strive in that direction and support our clients in achieving it as well.
Technical transfer is a key step for any compound, as it's very common that the compound will need to move from site to site as it scales out. So we'll put kind of dedicated project managers and teams in place to work with the clients and focus specifically on the compounds, really understand the needs of the transfer. What are the goals that we're trying to achieve? Because again, they can be different depending on the phase we're working in and the requirements of the client. So really digging in to understand that is critical part of that planning. And then working closely again with the sending unit or the client to making sure we're receiving the right information, or if there are gaps, again, we do really thorough risk assessments from quality side, safety side, operational side, to help that deep understanding of the process, and then be able to match that to what we have on the site, and ultimately give the best chance of success for bringing the compound on board. I think although technical transfer is often described as a risky process, with a lot of the tools that we put in place at Codis to assess those risks, mitigate them, and really manage them and work closely with the client, we feel that's a key way to move things forward and minimize those risks as much as possible.
I think we can all recognize that as products and projects mature, the priorities change. What will be in the earlier stages of development and more focus on cost sustainability and reduction of timelines will, in time, as you reach larger scales and particularly go into commercial, become more about supply security and supply consistency. But regardless of that, of whatever the priorities are, the point is that alignment with the client must always remain the same. At Codis, we work to achieve that through structured governance, which means that we establish from a very early stage key responsibilities and roles for all the key opinion leaders, both within CODIS and within our clients as well, so that there is a clear communication flow between the parties in order to make this communication as efficient as possible as well. We also promote and propose as well regular technical dialogues so that our partners can follow closely how the process and the project is evolving within our facilities, and to make sure and keep on track that we are meeting their end goals ultimately. And finally, we achieve this as well through complete transparency. Ultimately, the goal is to work as closely as possible with our clients and partners in 10 years' time, the same as we would work with them on day one. And ultimately, the focus is always on achieving the client's goals in the most lean and both cost and timely manner.
Yeah, so I think CODIS really does pride itself on long-term partnerships. We feel that's one of the most powerful ways to work together with our clients, and it's really truly rewarding to see compounds come through that we've maybe worked on in development phases, see them move through to launch and commercialize it. One of the things we really look at is how we can sometimes be adaptable to what the clients need, and again that can vary for different clients and also at different stages. I think like any relationship, it's making sure that things still work well for both parties. So being attentive to the needs as they may change over time. And I think with of our experience as well in running processes for longer term, it's understanding how we can continue to improve, continue to move things forwards. That continuous improvement mindset becomes really critical. So whether it's looking at process optimizations or yield improvements to improve the cost of goods, that can be a key focus of longer term arrangements. And also I think on the environmental side, so we've got a long-standing history within CODIS of improved environmental performance. For our commercial processes, we do a lot of water and solvent recycling. So again, things that we maybe wouldn't get into large discussions around at the early stage, we can bring these other benefits in as compounds move forward. And I think it helps to keep that relationship evolving, keep things moving, and like I said earlier, make sure that the needs of both parties are met as we move forwards.
We'll definitely be seeing a greater integration between science, between process manufacturing, and ultimately as well supply chain strategy. I mean, the paradigm is changing in a way that industrial scalability and particularly life cycle management for these products is becoming a prerequisite, not just a nice to have thing. So ultimately, companies will look into developing the leanest and the most cost-effective processes more and more, but they will also be at earlier points within the life cycle of the product, thinking about the long term and how they will be able not only to differentiate, but also to create line extensions in order to be able to answer the call of the market as that market matures and also generics come into play as well.
We're starting to see some evolution there in terms of model-based assessments, and I think that ultimately will tie in quite nicely with how CODIS have been moving in the last few years as well. So building up our own internal modeling capabilities to be able to move between assets and between scales more efficiently and quickly. So I think that's one of the key drivers is trying to compress some of those clinical timelines, and also make best use of scarce supply of API or quite expensive API as compounds become more and more complex and more challenging themselves. It's again harder to manufacture them, more costly to manufacture them. So the kind of looking after each gram of material at the early stages becomes more important. So I think that's one of the key areas that we'll see expansion in the upcoming years, to really optimize those front ends, get better candidate selection, better better chance of success to move compounds through.